Deep in Ethiopia, a $5 billion mega dam is rising from the Nile River. Supporters say it could light up half of Africa, but critics warn it could trigger the continent's first water war. So, is this the key to Africa's future or a ticking time bomb? For centuries, the Nile has been the lifeline of Africa. It's fed empires, created cities, and sparked wars. But now, Ethiopia has built the Grand Renaissance Dam, known as GERD, Africa's largest hydroelectric project. At its core, the dam isn't just about electricity. It's about power, political power, regional influence, and national pride. But what Ethiopia sees as progress, Egypt sees as a threat, and that's where the conflict begins. The GERD is massive. At 145 meters tall and nearly 2 kilometers long, it's larger than the Hoover Dam in the United States. Behind it, the reservoir will hold 74 billion cubic meters of water. That's more than the entire annual flow of the Blue Nile. To put that in perspective, imagine holding back a river that supplies 90% of Egypt's fresh water. That's the kind of scale we're talking about. Ethiopia argues the dam is essential. Over 60% of Ethiopians still live without electricity. With the GERD, Ethiopia hopes to generate 6,000 megawatts of power, enough to light up homes, power factories, and even sell electricity to neighbors like Sudan, Kenya, and Djibouti. For millions of Ethiopians, this dam isn't just concrete and steel, it's hope. But there's a problem. The Nile isn't just Ethiopia's river. It flows through 11 countries before reaching the Mediterranean. And for thousands of years, Egypt has considered it theirs. So when Ethiopia started building this dam in 2011, Egypt reacted with fury. Why? Because for Egypt, the Nile is survival. Egypt depends on the Nile for 97% of its water. Without it, the country would turn into desert. Egyptian leaders fear that if Ethiopia fills the dam too quickly, downstream water levels will plummet, leaving Egypt without enough water for farming, drinking, or industry. One Egyptian politician even once suggested military action against Ethiopia if the dam threatened their water supply. Caught in the middle is Sudan. On one hand, Sudan could benefit from cheap electricity and controlled floods. On the other hand, too much control by Ethiopia could put Sudan at risk if the dam ever fails or mismanages water flow. So Sudan switches sides, sometimes supporting Ethiopia, sometimes siding with Egypt, depending on what's at stake. What started as an engineering project has now become a geopolitical chess game. Negotiations have dragged on for years, with the African Union, the US, and even the United Nations trying to broker peace. But so far, no permanent deal exists. And with climate change making the Nile more unpredictable, the stakes are only getting higher. So, can this $5 billion mega dam really power half of Africa? Technically, yes. It could become the beating heart of East Africa's energy grid. But without cooperation, the GERD risks becoming more than just a dam. It could become a spark, igniting tensions between nations that all depend on the same river. The Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam is a symbol. For Ethiopia, it's independence and pride. For Egypt, it's fear of survival. For Africa, it's a test. Can nations share resources? Or will old rivalries turn progress into conflict? Maybe the real question isn't whether the dam can work. It's whether Africa can work together to make it succeed.